Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 Om 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 Shri Ram, Jai 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 Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, 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 Jai Jai Ram.
Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om 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 Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om 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 Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai
जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम हो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम हो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम 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 ശരിയായിട്ടുണ്ട് സ്വാമി ആരോ ആക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ട് ശ്രീരാം ജയ ഇവിടെ ഉണ്ട് സ്വാമി
ചെറുതായിട്ടോ
ശരി. ജയ രാമ ഓം ശ്രീരാം ജയ രാം ജയ ജയ രാമ ഓം ശ്രീരാം ജയ രാം ജയ ജയ രാമ ഓം
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Today we shall take up the vision for this month, August. In the poem of Papa, he says, I am the cause. My mind soared above all things, mundane and even celestial. and was dissolved in the state supreme, the cause and origin of the seen and the unseen world. I now know that I am not the relative. I am not the relative changing life, but I am the immortal being, the infinite truth God, whose love rules the spheres, whose might controls the four quarters, whose light illumines them all. Origin of everything, Papa is always hammering this, As a first step towards our spiritual journey, what is required is to think and know about our origin and the origin of the world outside. That only, according to him, will give us the correct understanding of ourselves, about him, and our relationship with creation. At the moment, the me and mine prohibits us in knowing him and in having harmonious relationship with his creation. That's why he says in the first line, my mind soared above all things. So long as it is on the lower plane, it cannot. But when it went up, mundane and even celestial, and was dissolved in the state supreme. Mind means, thought flow. So when the thought flow merged in that, what happened? The cause and the origin of the seen and the unseen world, in that, it was dissolved. I now know that I am not the relative changing life, but I am the immortal being, the infinite truth God, whose love rules the spheres, whose might controls the four quarters, whose light illumines them all. Editorial. When beloved Papa Swami Ramdas said, meditated and chanted in the text In Quest of God, we inferred he did so based upon his absorption of various teachings that he had gone through. In the book Passage to Divinity by Sri Chandrasekhar Rao, the following portion highlights this point. Quote, he now commenced reading afresh the lofty teachings of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, the works of Swami Vivekananda and Swami Ramtirtha, as well as other religious books like the Yoga Vasishta, with an intense interest. These works seemed now to unveil to him a deeper meaning and significance than they ever did before, and had the effect of accelerating the speed of the spiritual evolution that was subtly taking place within him. So here he gives us the clue, Reading, hearing at the superficial level may not help much. But when we churn, contemplate, and meditate upon it, then it will stay with us. So Papa's reading was like that. It's also a clue for all of us. So even while reading In Quest of God, suppose there is an earnest effort on our part to dig out what is what is between the lines, behind the words, behind the theme. This cannot be done by merely reading it. Only by going through it intensely. Put the book there. Try to jot down that which stands out and then compare it with whatever experience God has given us, and then slowly assimilate it. Then it becomes a part of ours. Similarly, in the book In Quest of God, Virat Papa wrote, off and on he was prompted by Ram to read the teachings of Sri Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita, Buddha, the Light of Asia, Jesus Christ, New Testament, Mahatma Gandhi, Young India and Ethical Religion. The young plant of bhakti in Ram was thus nurtured in the electric atmosphere. Here the electric stands for thrilling. In the thrilling atmosphere created by the influence of these great men on the mind of humble Ramdas. As a part of in-depth study of In Quest of God, Beloved Papa prompted us to prepare our mind to take up meditation and chanting by deeply dwelling on the following four aspects. First, preparation, then guidelines, then spiritual discipline, then daily practice. Last month's issue of the Vision covered the first point, preparation. In this month's issue, we will take up the second point, guidelines. Along with trying to apply the preparatory measures in our daily life, we should also deeply contemplate upon the pointers shared in the guidelines. However, it is imperative that chanting of Ramnam should not be slackened under any pretext. May the article shared in this issue be the compass showing us our true north, that means goal supreme. Object of life by Beloved Papa. The principal object of human life is to constantly think and meditate upon God. God is seated in the hearts of all creatures and pervades all moving and non-moving objects. By dedicating all our actions to Him, you have to live with all beings in mutual love and harmony. The basis of this love is eternal peace. God, who is the very being of love, is also the embodiment of peace. Immortality, bliss and wisdom are His other divine attributes. Refuge in this all-benevolent Lord grants the soul, who is stricken with sorrow, born of ignorance, imperishable bliss, peace and freedom. So the first para says, object is to think and meditate upon Him, who is within us. How do we do that? By dedicating all our actions, including chanting Ramnam. So there is no divide between mundane and spiritual. So whenever we remember, we will try, It may not be possible to remember because we have not trained our mind to bring in this God dimension in anything and everything that we do, talk, think. But whenever we get this, God is seated in the hearts of all creatures and pervades all moving and non-moving. So when we handle them, we will handle it with love, with perfection, with dedication, with gratitude. By dedicating all actions to Him, you have to live with all beings in mutual love and harmony. There also we fail. We know that, but we fail. But let us try. We did not understand when Mataji told us that if you find fault with anybody, you are finding fault with Papa. When we handle everything, she used to say, this is Papa, that is Papa. That means handle with love. So these are all applied spirituality. What we are reading is okay, but applied We should apply this, He who aspires to attain the highest good should surrender to the Supreme Lord, who is the Savior, controller, protector of the world. There is no true happiness for him here or hereafter who has forgotten him. So long as the darkened sense of separateness distorts one's vision, one cannot be free from discontent. When we forget him, we will always feel we want something more, something more. It is not full. But when we remember him, we are full. This applies to both Saguna and Nirguna approach. That 1 second when we move towards the sanctum sanctorum and place ourselves before the Ishta Devata, have we ever verified what do we get? Again people come and say, move. And you have been standing there for 3 hours, 4 hours. Mind may be going here and there, but every now and then it will come. You are standing there to have the darshan of the deity. Slowly, as we move nearer to the deity, what wells up? And when we are actually before the deity, what is that experience? If we closely, clearly understand fullness, it is for this I have been pining. People know, but people don't know. When we go to Shabarimala, you can find that how many hours they stand. Go to Guruvayur, how many hours nowadays they stand. In Tirupati, it is not simply getting down from your vehicle and then going and having a darshan and come back. No. Fullness. Now when we prepare ourselves to go to the symbol of God, who is peace, who is calmness, who is serenity, the idol remained there, with all serenity. It doesn't demand anything. Whatever we offer, it is taken back by us only. It remains there, untouched, unaffected. You put so many abhishekams, then you clean it. Okay, it will not complain, it is too hot, it is too cold. The same, Vinobaji said, it is the height, Saguna is the height of Nirguna. So long as the darkened sense of separateness distorts our vision, that he is separate from me, one cannot be free from discontent. The distortion can never disappear without the opening of the inner sight that beholds the same divine principle permeating all creatures and things. This distortion can never disappear without the opening of the inner sight that beholds the same divine principle. So when we go to temple, if this is employed, how the benefit will be. So those blessed souls who look upon the universe as the very image of God are alone perfect, wise, free. Reaching the supreme height, enjoy the rarest bliss of union with God. Do not divide bhakti, jnana and karma as distinct limbs of yoga or different yogas. Pure bhakti is itself the fire of jnana. The movement born of the equality of bhakti and jnana is itself karma. The heart is rising in waves of bhakti. Buddhi is enlightened with jnana. The confluence of these two produce the blissful stream of karma for the good of humanity. Thus the yoga that is formed of bhakti, jnana and karma is the perfect prem yoga or yoga of love. Prem or love does not mean the emotional ebullition of the heart. It is not the tears that flow down the eyes. It is not the mere glowing thoughts made manifest in words. Although it is made up of all these signs, prem is still beyond them all. It is the very form and being of God Himself, shining with the luster of perfection in whom bhakti, jnana and karma are equally embodied. If we would that God, who is infinite love, should in all His glory reveal Himself in us, His love must reflect on our thoughts, words and deeds. Prem is composed mainly of three powers: power of forgiveness, power of compassion, power of endurance. Although we are subjected to hate, contumely and persecution from others, we do not harbor thoughts of ill will or revenge towards them, but think and wish well of them. Here we exercise our power of forgiveness. We take the sorrows and trials of others as our own and bring them relief. We go forward to serve them with enthusiasm and a selfless spirit. We sacrifice for the sake of our body, for their sake, our body, mind and riches. Here we exercise the power of compassion. We suffer to any extent in order to free others from their pains and troubles. And for gaining this end, we are prepared to cheerfully renounce all our personal pleasures. Here we exercise our power of endurance. So the three ways in which the purest form of love expresses: power of love, power of forgiveness, power of compassion. Power of endurance, sorry. In a life of self-denial, we experience pure, independent, incomparable delight. It is now we have the realization of the fullest prem. It is now the soul, having achieved liberation, reveals himself in his true being as Brahman. Now the soul remains merged in the limitless ocean of Anand in all states. Attain to this greater than the greatest status of Purushottama. Reach this transcendent apex of human aspiration, which is your birthright. Having realized deathless peace, spread it all over the world. Be blessed. So this is the first lead article, object of life. What are the points covered by Papa? Try.
Mutual love and harmony. Mutual love and harmony.
Okay. Only one article we have read.
Power of endurance.
Power of endurance. Power of
compassion.
Power of endurance, power of compassion. No.
Power of forgiveness, power of compassion, power of tolerance.
At least academically you will understand first. Then, do not separate bhakti, jnana and karma. Then, object of our life is to meditate on Him, to become one with Him. Then,
Spirituality in daily life.
spirituality in daily life. Yes. Then,
Know the origin of your and my
first poem, origin. It touched and made us to think about origin of our and the world life. This will all help us. When we go back now, how do I walk? No, that is enough. How the left leg, when it is down, right leg is up, right leg is down. Am I unknowingly doing this? It goes by itself. What is the articulating? How do I see? How do I? Like that, So He is there within us. He is there within us. To know Him is my real life. I have forgotten. Then, anything else? He used the word discontent, Think about it. Only when we realize Him, the benchmark, what do you call it, litmus test, is that slowly the contentment. I think there is a quotation there, What is that quotation?
discontent be for
If I don't ask, nobody will look at it.
we should not be discontented with the situations in which He places us.
Eh?
We should not be discontented
Uh,
with the situation in which He places us.
uh,
But discontented should be for not having progressed sufficiently on the path and attained the vision of God.
We should feel discontented with what all that has been given to us. At the same time, should feel discontent for not having sufficiently progressed on the spiritual path. That is our fuel, that is our incentive. Otherwise, we may think, complacent, we may not be, it's all right when we go to ashram, we will chant like that, no. No. The discontentment of not having sufficiently progressed on the spiritual path. In spite of my chanting, in spite of my doing bhajan, in spite of my doing in-depth study of Inquest of God, why is it that I am not feeling contented? Then, so the power of compassion, power of forgiveness, power of endurance. Kindly think about it more and more. These are some of the ways by which the thickness of the me and mine can be erased. God makes us to go through many, many trying situations. At that time, normal tendency would be to blame, but no. Even if the other party, according to us, has done something wrong, we bring before them, we forgive. I am working out my prarabdha, my karma, through you, that's all. Like that I must be able to. Then power of compassion, feeling one with others, that is called compassion. It will be spontaneous also. And power of endurance, So many hardships at the bodily level, mental level. We should be able to endure. In the 12th chapter, in the 8th sloka, when he starts, he says that Adveshta sarvabhudanam maitra karuna yavaja nirmamo nirahankara samadukka sugakshami chami santushta satatam yogi. Santushta, always be full, contented. So kshami, endure. And then, okay, so we will move to the next. Let us see how many points remain with us. Beloved Papa answers, what discipline should we follow in meditation? Papa, Ramdas can tell you his own experience regarding meditation. He had never practiced meditation for the first year of his sadhana. He was simply repeating God's name with all love and faith. That is meditation. Not simply telling. So we can convert it as meditated and chanted, he said in the first chapter, It is not the meditation that we usually understand as meditation, where we stand or sit, close our eyes in a particular posture and concentrate on the in between the eyelids, and then followed by breath control and so many. There are various practices. But there, no. Papa's meditation was with simple love and faith. Meditative chanting. He thought his life's object would be fulfilled by realizing God, by seeing Him, by feeling Him, by having Him, all for himself, so that his life may be purified, ennobled, illuminated, and in every way blessed. He thought that was the highest purpose in life. To that end, he was day and night remembering God and pining for Him, so that He might reveal Himself. It went on like this for 1 year, when he was wandering in several parts of India, as narrated in his book, In Quest of God. After his return to Bangalore, he occupied a cave on a small hill. There also he was repeating God's name constantly. One evening, God wished that he should sit for meditation, but he did not know what meditation was. He was simply repeating the Rama mantra, and his mind was bathed in an ocean of peace. He was aware of the external life, but he had no interest in anything. In that state, he was asked to sit silent, close the eyes, allow the mind to take its own course. He sat erect, closed his eyes. As soon as he closed the eyes, the mind became still. Sank within and lost itself. He was in a state of trance and ecstasy. For nearly 3 hours, he could not move his limbs. He was seized with joy from within, with which he became one. He could not come out. He also would not come out. Both were true, because he was lost in joy. He could not come out. Because he was enjoying that rare bliss, he could not come out. In that state, he sat for these 3 hours, still like a rock, not entirely unaware of the external life. For a time, there was a dim consciousness. When he was sitting erect like this, a peculiar feeling came over him in which he lost his consciousness, awareness of the hands, and the sensation gradually extended all over the body, until at last he was completely oblivious of it. He was sitting awake in a state of supreme joy and was feeling that he was all pervading. He was lost in that consciousness. The chanting of the name had done its task and he had been prepared for the final plunge. Now he was completely lost. Thereafter, whenever there was any devotional music going on, he used to go into trance for hours together. But later on, this developed into another consciousness wherein he beheld everywhere the divine. As he became more and more aware of the divine presence everywhere, going into trances became less frequent until he was established in God consciousness to such an extent that that state remained with him in all conditions, whether awake or asleep or talking or walking. That means unknowingly we all get into that feeling, to be limited to that particular time, to particular experience. So Papa, though he was given all these things, he was very clear right from the beginning that it should abide with him always, so that he doesn't have to sit again for meditation, for Ramnam, for doing this, for doing that. Because God remembrance has always been there. So meditation as such was not practiced by Ramdas. It came to him automatically after long practice of chanting God's name. Then he was induced into that state by such external impacts as God's name sung before him, or some talk about God which fell into his ears. But gradually, that was also controlled by God. Now he is living in the normal condition, in what is called Sahajavastha. But the divine consciousness which he experienced in trances is still maintained. This is how meditation came to him. It was spontaneous. The individual self must be absorbed in the universal, and you must lose the body consciousness, completely merging your individual being in the supreme being within you, who may be called God or truth or reality. So one more message Papa gives: meditation is the outcome of our intense practices. Reading this week, suppose we go and sit, we may not be able to. He says spontaneous, and it is an outcome. So if it has to come, it will come. So what is needed is, the message is constant, constant, constant remembrance. Every day when we pray, we can bring all these dimensions in our heart. That millennia Prabhu, the river should become one with the ocean. Then only the river loses its identity, So I should become one with this. So every day we pray, when we chant, we can say, when are you going to enable me to merge in you? You are the subtle and mysterious power. What is that word? All pervading. In quest of God is enough. Because in quest of God, in the first article, he has given us all these. We failed. He says, Ram first kindled in the heart of his humble slave Ramdas a keen desire to realize his infinite love, to strive to approach and understand Ram is to recede from the world of vanishing forms, because Ram is the only truth, the only reality. Ram is a subtle and mysterious power that pervades and sustains the whole universe. Pervades and sustains. Birthless and deathless is he. He is present in all things, in all creatures, who only appear as separate entities due to their ever-changing forms. To wake up from this illusion of forms is to realize at once the unity or love of Ram. Love of Ram means love of all beings, all creatures, all things in the world, because Ram is in all is in Ram, Ram is all in all. To realize this great truth, we who through ignorance feel as separate individuals should submit ourselves to the will and working of the infinite power, the infinite love Ram, who is one and all pervading. So we try to pray, include in our prayer, before starting Ramnam or in between Ramnam or after Ramnam. Enable me to merge myself in you, who is all pervading. Because I know that the sense of individuality is the biggest roadblock. So unless I merge in your cosmic being, I will not be able to get out of it. So please enable me to merge. Either before dropping the body or along with dropping the body. You have given us a freedom to pray to you. With that freedom we pray. All of us have been given freedom to pray to Him in any manner we want. So here we are not asking anything, only this. You are making me to chant Ramnam. You have give us the association of various Mahatmas. You have made us to go through the various aspects of spirituality. You have provided everything in this holy ashram. The only request is, I know what is the roadblock, the me and mine. You yourself have said in the second chapter that remove the I-ness in me. So please remove the I-ness in me by merging myself in your cosmic being. Please. So this individual self must be absorbed in the universal, this Papa says. And you must lose the body consciousness completely, merging your individual being in the supreme being within you, who may be called God, the only truth. At the moment it is a tall talk, agreed. But we will keep it as an ideal before us. Every day when we chant, probably 1,000th of an inch we may be moving, towards Him. Because with the freedom He has given, we are asking Him, please, enough is enough. I have been living as a separate individual and I have not been able to feel the fullness at all. Every time there is grumbling, complaints. Everything there is incompleteness, discontentment. So please remove this. I should become one with you. I should become one with you. I should become one with you. This is the essence of Papa's talk. Let us see what Mataji has to say. Papa's eternal being that we have to attain is one of utter emptiness, total void, like the vacant space around us. We should also become thoroughly empty within. That is to say, there should not be the least vestige of Deha Viman. Only then can we attain Papa's Shashwata Swarup. Kali Swarup. Unless we empty ourselves. How can we empty? When we know that, suppose in a pipe, there are something that is blocking the water. We open the water with full speed and somehow purge it out, or take a stick or something and insert and then push it out. These are the things which we are doing whenever we want to empty. We have to keep on thinking about it. Simply Mataji is hearing, how can we empty? Very difficult to empty. And without emptying, we will not feel his presence. So first we will empty, we will fill it with sattvic thoughts, as much sattvic thoughts as possible, so that the rajasic and tamasic thoughts will slowly pushed away. And then finally the sattvic thoughts also, we pray to him. Sattvic thoughts come by association with co-aspirants, co-sadhakas, meeting Mahatmas, going through their wisdom teachings. Singing and chanting the glories of his name. Glories of him. Even glories of him, that is okay. Puja Swami Sachidanand, when he drafted the poem, he was also glorifying the personal aspect of Lord Vishnu. Though he ultimately identified God as consciousness absolute, still he adored the form. So that means, he gives us a message. There is a bhajan, what is that? Guru Kripa Anjana. I remember. Aparam Birme. Then Guru Kripa Anjana, Payo Meri Pai. Next line. Then. Andar Rama, Bahar Rama, Yaha Dekhe, then. There he is apart, somewhere. For example, the Udar, no? So like that, when we keep on singing the glory, what all you have given, in spite of, I don't deserve anything because I have never acknowledged, I have never honestly felt that you have given, but in spite of that you are giving, Not only you have given, you are giving, you have been giving. So for some method by which we do that. That is how the sattvic thoughts develop, and then we will be able to push out the rajasic and tamasic. So Mataji says you have to make yourself, we should also become thoroughly empty within.
Apar is not there.
Apar is not there. Mahima somewhere.
जागत रामा सोवत रामा सपने में देखो रामा राजा ही रामा एक जनार्दनी भाव ही निका जो देखो वो राम सरिता
अपार महिमा इदने
गुरु महिमा
अपार महिमा. And in the Ajmer Binati, there also I think it comes. Anyway, it's all right. So there should not be the least vestige of Deha Viman. Only then can we attain Papa's Shashvata Sarup. Nirguna Nirvigara Nirakara Shashvata Ananda Sarup. So in the Saguna worship also this helps a lot. When we glorify him, the mind is full of his glories. That means we have filled it, though you are not emptied, we have filled it with sattvic thoughts. Last line of Narayaniam.
Narayaniam, last line.
Agre Pashyami is the first one. Ajnat. Ayurarogya Saukyam, it will come, you know. Ajnate. Anyhow, it's all right. See, the idea is to somehow fill our mind with positive thoughts, positive thoughts. Tomorrow these mothers are going to chant Narayaniam day after tomorrow. Those who are interested can join. We need not know the entire meaning. Think about God, finished. Think about Lord Krishna. He is there from top to bottom. Finished, that is enough. Papa's real nature, real Swabhava is Nirguna Nirvigara Swarup. Nameless, formless, static, void aspect. Papa. See? Each word, you know, we have to stop. Otherwise we can read and go, you know. Papa's real nature, God's real nature, real Swabhava is Nirguna Nirvigara Swarup. Nameless, formless, static, void. Such a supreme being who fills all space came in a human form in order to enjoy his own bliss. It is like enclosing the emptiness that is all around you within the confines of a small container. This. The all-pervading self is contained in this small enclosure. Yeah. It is like enclosing the emptiness that is all around you within the confines of a small container. And it is the space that we are using, you know. The space is God. Gagana Sadrisham, we repeat, you know, in the slogas. Gaganam means this space. Brahmanandam, Paramasugatam, Kevalam, Jnanamurtim, Dandvaditam, Gagana Sadrisham. Shantakaram, Bhujagachayanam, Patmanabam, Suresham, Vishwakaram, Gagana Sadrisham. So even the Saguna and Nirguna prayer, we have defined it as Saguna and Nirguna. There, you know, it brings this Saguna. He is Gagana Sadrisham. He is like the space. And what is space? Such a supreme being who fills all space came in a human form in order to enjoy his own bliss. It is like enclosing the emptiness that is all around you within the confines of a small container. Take away the enclosure. What is left? Only emptiness again. With this, you will say it's not empty, you know. But when you take away, you say empty. So it is there in the emptiness. It is also containing the emptiness. When it is taken away, also the emptiness is there. Papa's eternal being is all void. And we can become one with such a Swarup only if we ourselves become thoroughly empty within and without. Ultimate state of realization would be like the vast space around us, between us. Just to bring some thought into your mind, and as soon as that thought ends, there is a pause before you think of another thought, and the mind is blank in that period. That blankness is Papa. The vacant space between you and me is Papa. So much is He all-pervading. So much is His all-pervading Papa is seated in your heart. In the final stage of God realization, when you become one with reality, you shed the last vestige of body consciousness and the sense of duality and become one with Him. Then there is none left to imbibe the experience and come back and report, you and He become one. God is the all-pervading, Nirguna, Nirakara, Adiantarahida, Shashwata, void, filled with Shashwata bliss, infinite reality. Papa is all this and beyond this too. You are also within it, but you do not know it. You live, move, and have your being in Him. Papa protects you both within and without. So that itself is sufficient for us to think, Today 3 articles we covered. So the void, empty, how to empty within. And Papa talks about the object of life. And then he was also making a mention about meditation. Mataji talks about the attributes of the Lord. Like that, suppose we take 1 or 2 points from each. That will be the food for thought, seed for thought. So that it will not leave us, the moment we go out of the room. It was a good session, good thing came, that's all we will say, but we will not remember anything. But at least a few we will remember, try to remember. And then try to go digging, plumbing deep within. What is the word is voiced? How to empty myself? What is the space? How to still the mind? Something like this. The object is to remember Him. That is why in the last chapter, you will find Papa telling, very touching that word, because he started with a stressful mind. He says, it was about 2 years ago, for nearly a year, Ramdas struggled on in a world full of chaos, anxieties, pains. It was a period of terrible stress and restlessness. In this utterly helpless condition, full of misery, where is rest? Where is peace? This was the heart's cry of Ramdas. But in the 37th chapter, before he closes down, day before yesterday when we were passing through Panchapandava cave, from the airport, we were remembering. Ramdas stays by Ram's command in a cave called Panchapandava cave on the Kadri hill and lives there a serene life, devoting his whole time in talking about, writing off, and meditating on that all-loving, glorious Ram. Serene life. Meditating, writing, and talking, So that was touched in 3 articles. Like that we will try to take up more of it tomorrow. So what is more important is to assimilate, to retain something of it. Just as the school teacher, there is a text, there is a teacher. The text only contains the syllabus, curriculum. Why should there be a teacher? We can go through and stop, We will not understand. So a teacher is necessary to take up chapter by chapter. And to make it more and more clearer to us, we refer to the text. And for that he gives us the homework. We refer to the text, we hear, we remember what he told us, and we answer the homework. And at the end of the year, we are asked to sit for examination, where the text will not be allowed to be taken. Guru, teacher also will not be there. And you also don't know what questions are going to come. Only in the hall the question paper box will be opened. And then, no prop, we have to bring it out in our own way. Similarly, books are there. Papa is giving us these thoughts clearly. And then, examinations are the experiences. We may call it as bitter and sweet. So never So we have been asked as Papa's spiritual children that this experience is too much for me, that everything is an experience, everything is an examination. Sorry. So every now and then he puts it there, just to check up whether we have absorbed whatever that has been facilitated to absorb, whether we have really absorbed, or we are just attending sessions here, whether we are reading the session, reading the book, whether it is going inside and whether it is actually helping us in our own way. Kindly think about it. Is it not the same? Here, unlike the question paper, there is no examiner here in a form. The examiner is he, giving us the question paper in the form of problem. And he watches how we solve the problem. That is the answering. So we are now praying to him. You have just made us understood that whatever experiences we are made to go through, that is the experience, that is the test. Kindly enable us to view it as a test, rather than labeling it as good or bad, and becoming happy or becoming sad, respectively. Please enable us to realize that everything that you make me to go through is a test, is a test, is a test. And in quest of God is some completely, it is completely with these examinations only. Papa was put to test at every place, but he was able to take it. That's why he always said, Ram, I know you are doing it. So the in-depth study should give us this, by the end of December, we must get something of it. We may not be able to get the full of it, okay. Something of it, like that whatever experiences he makes me to go through, I should be able to accept it as a test. I should not blame any external conditions. Anything outside I should not be able to. I may say, but I should feel that it is only your test, your test, your test, to make me more and more perfect and your fittest instrument, so that you will absorb me unto yourself. So let us all keep this vibrantly, Chidan Swami used to say, vibrantly, dynamically, Hari Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. I have emptied. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri